want to talk about Operation Safe Corridor, which has now graduated over 744 repentant terrorists, offering them, vocational training, psychological support, and reintegration into the society. But General, I have highlighted a viral video which was showing an IDP from Borno State whose father was actually killed by insurgents. He alleged that, rehabilitated terrorists received government salaries up to 70,000 naira monthly, and I believe plus a lump sum payment of, 3 million naira. And government provided vehicles. This one terrorist he named Adamu, I believe he said that the man killed about 96 people in one day, and he was given a Hilux. I mean, on the other hand, we're even seeing, our officers. We've seen police officers. Recently, I talked about one who was shot 5 times fighting bandits in Kaduna. He has waited 4 years for medical support and is begging Nigerians online for help. Now, is Nigeria rewarding perpetrators while abandoning its heroes?
Not at all. I told you earlier that I had the privilege of being the operation officer when I was a major in Sierra Leone, and we disarmed the terrorists that were operating in Sierra Leone as a den. And one of the things I observed then was that a lot of emphasis was placed on the terrorists themselves and not the victims. And so we didn't want to repeat the same thing here in Nigeria. When we started, I was in Maiduguri, international law says once your enemy surrenders, you are bound to treat him humanely.
Under the international law, once your enemy surrenders, you treat them with human treatment. You treat them humanly. That is the excuse that Christopher Musa is giving why the federal government are paying the terrorists, buying the repentant terrorists gone, and buying them healers. Why people who fought genuinely, who were fighting against these terrorists, they were now discarded, begging Nigerians for food on social media. Retired soldiers that they cut off their legs. In fact, I have some of them in my inboxes. So these people don't have even money to take drugs and so on and so forth. Most of them, their allowances are not being paid, like nothing. And you are paying the terrorists, supporting the terrorists. And I'm surprised Christopher Musa is coming out to defend this. Guys, Christopher Musa was on Arise News. And yeah, he was talking about, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, Tinubu administration 3 years in office. Amidst the insecurity in Nigeria, Christopher Musa did not feel sober. And when you watch what Christopher Musa said, he was literally, endorsing the rehabilitation, the payment of money to all these terrorists. Like, how do we get here? Removing APC from office is not going to solve the whole problem in Nigeria because Nigeria is doomed. Nigeria is not sustainable. But I can tell you that taking these lunatics out of power is a counter-terrorism. Listen to the narratives of Christopher Musa about what is going on in Nigeria, saying that Nigeria is more safer. Must he play politics with everything?
Now, you were at the helm of the CDS during years 1 and 2, but, many Nigerians would argue that things have gotten worse, not better. Just this week alone, 13 people were kidnapped from their homes at about 1 a.m. in Kebbi State. 3 worshippers killed and 15 abducted during a prayer vigil in Kwara. Students in Ekiti State fleeing schools over bandit fears. Now, how do you respond to Nigerians who say insecurity has escalated under your watch?
Yeah, like what I'm saying, that Nigeria is going through its trying periods. Countries go through this. It's what you make out of it that makes you better or worse. And I think we're addressing it holistically. The armed forces and other security agencies cannot cover the entire length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria has over 927 square kilometers, and we're just how many? And what they do is, because they want to show that there is disorder or there is insecurity, they look for soft spots where there are no security agencies and they want to attack or they want to kidnap. And, the trajectory is this. Criminality starts when people break laws and order, then it gets to kidnapping, then it gets to banditry, then it gets to terrorism. And once you start dealing with the terrorism, it now falls back towards banditry, getting back to petty crimes, and this is what we're going through. You see that we have more kidnappings now than acts of terrorism. And what it shows is that it is going down and that we need to come together to be able to address that because the security forces cannot be everywhere. Now, I'm sure you are aware that in other countries, even the developed countries are facing issues of kidnappings. It's not only Nigeria. But all I'm saying is that we need to come together. Instead of people throwing blames here and there, the security forces are doing ultimately well, putting in their best, considering the situation we're in, to address this. Border security is one issue where we have to look at. And for us, we need the states to partner with the federal government. The federal government, I think, is doing its best. States are getting their funds as required, more than they ever had. The issue we need to have is that we need to have our local governments work because there are steps that we need to take to address these issues. Our local governments must be up and doing because crime is local. If local governments are working, they'll be able to tackle these things within their own area before it gets to the state, before it gets to the federal. So I think it's a whole of society approach to security.
All right, you're talking about border security. Now, you commanded Operation Hadinkai in the Northeast from 2021 to 2023. You know the terrain. You know the tactics. So why are we still seeing these midnight raids? You've talked about border security. There's continuous mass abductions and attacks on soft targets like schools, churches, markets. What's really is the solution to this border security? And you also made mention about how we should all come together. What exactly do you mean?
Border security is such that we have to be in tandem with our neighbors. You know, we have some issues with Niger. We share about 1,500 kilometers with Niger, 1,650 with Cameroon. We have some level with Benin Republic and the Atlantic Sea, and then with Chad. So our neighbors too need to. And so what the terrorists do actually is that when you attack them more, they move to the next country. So you need the other country too to also be able to block its own side of the border so that they don't have any safe haven. So it's we're working together through the multinational joint task force to ensure that we address this. We have seen level of threats coming in between Benin, Nigeria, and Niger border, where through the multinational joint task force, we're establishing a new sector to address those areas so that from Burkina Faso, they don't penetrate through Benin into Nigeria. We want to stop it. Now, the question is, why do we seem to have this penetration? Again, because as Africans, we share a lot of community within ourselves. We have cultural areas, we have religious tribes that cross across border. And because asymmetric warfare is such that the enemy is usually within, it's that person you are protecting that could be your enemy. And that's why it's most difficult. Conventional warfare, you know the enemy is within states, so you can easily take him out. Now it's difficult. You know the situations we're having. Most times you want to conduct any attack, these guys blend within civilians and you are forced to call off the attack. And this prolongs it because we want to avoid killing innocent civilians. And again, the media, we want to appeal to the media to understand that we are partners in progress. We're not enemies. We have had some media houses that have taken upon themselves to spread falsehoods. There are situations where even when there were no attacks, they report that 40 people have been killed or this has happened, and only to find out nothing as such. We must come together to understand this is our country. If Nigeria fails, if the armed forces fails, nobody will be able to even sit in any office to write any report. So we must understand this. And the more we support each other, the more we work together as a team, the more we succeed.
All right. So you're calling for support and responsible journalism. Now, you transitioned from chief of defense staff to Minister of Defense. Now, what are you doing differently now that you couldn't do then? And you know, more importantly, what has changed in strategy or even execution?
Now, as a Minister of Defense, you know, now I'm dealing with the administration, with policy making to support members of the armed forces. As the Chief of Defense Staff, I was directly involved, so I could move troops, I could do this. Now, we bring out what we use is we use Mission Command, and we tell them, look, we need this place to be secured. The way manner they do it is left to them to be able to carry out. And then the troops are actually doing their best, considering the situation we're in. We want to also ensure that they get the required equipment because we need to change our equipment. We need to improve on the equipment we're having. We don't produce what we need, and that's one of the greatest challenges we're having because we don't produce these equipments. The president have approved and signed the DICOM bill, enabling us now to partner with other countries that produce such equipments. Places like Turkey, like Brazil, like South Africa, like Egypt, China, and so much that are friends of Nigeria. We are working with them. We have started producing some of these items. Our youths have started producing drones that we need. If we don't produce what we need, it's always very difficult, even with your money, to get what you need to fight with.
Right. Now, I want you to be honest with me, General Musa. Now, if you were to rate this government's performance on insecurity from 0 to 10, where, of course, 10 is complete security and 0 is total collapse, what score would you give? And be honest, please. Would Nigerians agree with that score?
I'll give ourselves 65, 70.
65%?
Because no nation is free. But yes, 65, 70.
You were saying
no nation is totally free from crime and criminality. Yeah, no nation. I'm sure you are sure that level of terrorism across has actually drastically reduced. Now we have acts of terrorism. And terrorism, like I said, is a social vice. Failure of family values. People, we have seen fathers kidnapping children, children kidnapping each other, brothers kidnapping sisters. It tells you that there's something wrong with the family. We need to also look inward to see how we can now develop those aspects. Again, the issue of education, people to understand that, look, to make money, work very hard. Don't look for shortcuts. Most of these people taking part in those kidnappings and all this are looking for shortcuts. And again, you can't rule out politics, because what I ask you is, most of these people they are kidnapping are people that don't have anything to offer. And you kidnap somebody and ask for 1 billion naira, knowing that the individual you are kidnapping cannot offer. So what are you doing? Who are you expecting to pay that money? And that's to tell you that there are some times you can look at that acts of sabotage to make the government look weak or to make the country look ungovernable or whatever. But however it is, the armed forces and security forces are working tirelessly to address those issues. And I can tell you, Nigerians working with us, and I want to appreciate Nigerians. The level of support we are getting is a lot better than it used to be in the past, and we're making more inroads. You're aware that we're working with our partners, the Americans, the British, the French, and all lovers of Nigeria that want us to succeed. They are bringing out those platforms we don't have, and we're working. The recent killing of that deputy ISIS commander was a painstaking operation that was conducted. It started since last year. We followed and ensured that we were sure what we were doing, and then when we struck, we got them just rightly. And that's what we're doing. So it's a bit difficult. It's a very difficult operation. I advise countries, no country should allow asymmetric warfare to commence. Don't allow acts of terrorism or insurgency in your country. It's a very, very difficult operation. We have seen examples, other countries, how it took them. Turkey has taken 40 years. It is now that they're getting over it. And we're learning from them because, again, they'll be able to develop their capacity to develop their drones, their military equipments. Now we're partnering with them. We're developing our special forces. We're getting experiences from them. We're working with the French, with the Brazilians. So everybody is putting hands on deck to ensure that we achieve success.
All right. I mean, I'd love to also talk about the joint efforts. And you just mentioned the killing of that ISIS second in command, Abu Bilal al-Muniki. I mean, he was hiding in Nigeria. And, you know, kudos to the Nigerian government and, of course, the United States government on that win. But I'd like to ask, because you just made mention that, you know, terrorism has reduced in Nigeria. I'd like to really understand what you mean by that. And if you can explain to Nigerians what terrorism really means. I mean, or even the different acts of terrorism going on right now in Nigeria. What we're talking about right now.
In the past, you hear almost on a daily basis, you hear issues of IEDs exploding from here and there. You keep on hearing about vehicle-borne IED, body-borne IED, and all these things. You don't hear them. You hear them maybe once in a while, here and there. And most of it political, I can say. The last ones that happened in Maiduguri were meant to dissuade the president from visiting UK. It was deliberate. And if you look at it, who and why, what was the intent? The intent is to make sure that the president doesn't go there, or even if he goes there, he doesn't have any leverage to want to speak. And to tell you that it's intentional. People deliberately planned that and conducted that just to make that point. And it's very unfortunate, but we want to appeal to Nigerians not to allow anybody to use them for whatever reason. Your country is your country. If you allow your country to get destroyed, you go to somebody's country, you'll be a second-class citizen. We have seen it happen. I was in Sierra Leone, we were in Liberia, we were at different places. War is not good. It's important that we come together, address this issue, and stop it.
You know, speaking about acts of terrorism and, you know, why terrorism festers, I want to talk about Operation Safe Corridor, which has now graduated over 744 repentant terrorists, offering them, you know, vocational training, psychological support, and reintegration into the society. But General, I have highlighted a viral video which was showing an IDP from Borno State whose father was actually killed by insurgents. He alleged that, you know, rehabilitated terrorists received government salaries up to 70,000 naira monthly, and I believe plus a lump sum payment of, you know, 3 million naira. And government provided vehicles. This one terrorist he named Adamu, I believe he said that the man killed about 96 people in one day, and he was given a Hilux. I mean, on the other hand, we're even seeing, you know, our officers. We've seen police officers. Recently, I talked about one who was shot 5 times fighting bandits in Kaduna. He has waited 4 years for medical support, and he's begging Nigerians online for help. Now, is Nigeria rewarding perpetrators while abandoning its heroes?
Not at all. I told you earlier that I had the privilege of being the operation officer when I was a major in Sierra Leone, and we disarmed the terrorists that were operating in Sierra Leone as a den. And one of the things I observed then was that a lot of emphasis was placed on the terrorists themselves and not the victims. And so we didn't want to repeat the same thing here in Nigeria. When we started, I was in Maiduguri, international law says once your enemy surrenders, you are bound to treat him humanely. That is international law. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the truth. And again, you know, there are issues sometimes when we do some things, people come against us and say we are killing innocent civilians. So it's always a thin line between what you do. Now, Operation Safe Corridor is international, is an internationally set up avenue where you take out those supposedly terrorists. Now, let me explain in detail. When we started arresting, I was the theater commander in the Northeast when the terrorists started surrendering. And what happened? We were able to take out their crossing points, their feeding, the oxygen that keeps them going. They couldn't get ammunition, they couldn't get food, they couldn't get water, they couldn't get fuel. So those of them that were really tired, fed up of this, started surrendering. Now, when they came out, what we did is that we worked together with the Borno State government. They provided the transport and the management and administration. We were able to disarm those ones that came out. And what we found out that there are 3 categories of people. Firstly, there were this sort that were conscripted by force. Now, what the terrorists were doing then is when they attack a village, they bring out all the male guys to one side and ask you to either join them or you die. Those that joined were left. Those that didn't join were beheaded. So those ones were forced into it. There were different groups that were picked for one reason or the other. They were used as farmers to help assist them in farming out there in the field, and all they were using them for as slaves. And then there were the real perpetrators who are the combatants. Now we're able to identify these 3 sets. Those first two sets were kept. Those are the ones we normally send to Operation Safe Corridor for rehabilitation. The terrorists, those ones I had, are the ones we are still keeping and handed over to the Attorney General of the Federation. And I'm sure you've heard of recent, some of them were jailed. Now, because of the legal system, it takes a long while because you have to bring proof. You have to bring exhibits that you're going to use against them. So the military provides camp to keep them. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of Federation is profiling them, taking them to court when they have cases, and then jailing them for those ones that were found guilty. So these are the sets. So I wanted to make that clarification because everybody thought that we just carry everybody, put them in, and give them ashwebi, give them food. No. I don't know about the 70,000 you were talking about, but all I know is that these first 2 sets, these ones that were enslaved, the ones that were conscripted, they were forced into it. Not that it was a willing thing they did. We kept them to one side, and they give them mineral jails because sometimes, why do they join? They join because, one, they were deceived to think that they were fighting for God. Some of them were deceived because they were poor, and they felt that was the only way they could have some, because those guys had money to give them. They enticed them with money and promised them heaven and earth, and so they joined them. So when we treat those ones and they were given some skills, they are rehabilitated back into the community. And I can tell you where we keep monitoring them, and there is none that has really gone back and it has gone bad because we're also monitoring what they're doing. But those perpetrators are kept to one side. Now, in Borno, the governor, I remember we had a stakeholders meeting where an individual came because we had to bring the victims. One of the representatives of the victims, I remember very clearly, came and said that they killed 9 of his family members. But that if forgiving them is going to bring peace, he's ready to do it. Because whatever you do, you have to still sit down on the table and see that. In South Africa, we have the Truth and Reconciliation Program. Rwanda, they had it after all the killings and all these things. So these are these things. No matter what you do, you must have a round table where you sit down and discuss these issues. Those ones that are found guilty will face the law. That's just the rule.
So are you saying that Nigeria is not rewarding the killers, the ones that have been found guilty of this crime? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Not at all. We're not rewarding acts of criminality. It will be stupid and foolhardy for us to do that.
All right. And so this reintegration program.
We can understand. Yes. We can understand the sentiments. People feel aggrieved, and naturally they will feel, look, everybody that is there should be killed. But we can't do that because it's the same Nigerians that will come and say we're also killing innocent civilians.
All right. So you give amnesty to terrorists who have not killed. That's what you're saying to me right now. And are you paying them salary?
We are rehabilitating. Yes. No, we're not paying terrorists salary. Those ones that were terrorists, those commanders and those ones that perpetrators are facing the law. The Attorney General is dealing with them, and they've been jailing them for several times. I'm sure a few weeks ago, some of them were also jailed.
All right. Well, okay. Thank you for that clarification. Now, General, you recently welcomed Pastor Moka to the Ministry of Defense. I saw that statement, speaking about prayers and, boosting troop morale. But last Saturday, like I said earlier, 3 worshippers were killed and 15 kidnapped during, a night vigil in Kwara State. Now, the PFN is now calling communities killing fields and, demanding international intervention. When religious leaders are protesting insecurity instead of just praying, doesn't that tell you moral support isn't enough? I mean, what material support are troops actually getting? Yeah. Go ahead.
You see, all Nigerians, we are prayerful. We're prayerful, but it's not just to pray. You also pray and you walk. And walking means also attacking those terrorists, those criminals, not allowing them to thrive wherever it is they are. And it's very important that for Nigerians, prayer is good. And I can tell you, for every military man, especially in the battlefield, prayer is critical because that what gives him the morale to continue to walk. So please let us not play down that aspect of prayer. But we're not saying you should pray and sleep. No. You must do the work because even God wants you to walk, and that's why prayer is always there. So we are walking while we are praying, and I want to appeal, and I thank God you brought that issue. I want to appeal to our religious leaders, our traditional rulers, our cultural leaders. Please, it's important. Hope is critical. For a human being, if he loses hope, he has lost everything. I've had some comments of recent of some very highly placed religious leaders saying Nigeria is finished, Nigeria is no more, the Naira is no more. It's quite unfortunate. Nigeria gave us the leverage to get to where we are today. We cannot, because of something happening today or tomorrow, and think everything else is bad. You cannot just say all the years that Nigeria has put. Nigeria gave us the limelight. Nigeria gave us the platform to be where we are. That's why we can sit down and talk. And because we are opinion leaders, we should be very careful about the kind of words we say, what we do. We should learn to give hope to people. We should learn to encourage people, even in damaging. During the Second World War, we had people, worse things were done, but people didn't come out and give up. They fought it, and today there is peace. That is why I want to encourage us. Our religious leaders, our traditional rulers, our cultural leaders, please, let's be positive. Let's come together. Forget our comfort zone, because a lot of them you can sit down in your ACs and think everything is okay because you are not facing this. Those guys that are in the bushes fishing these issues know what they are going through. We must encourage them. We must show them that God is with them. We must tell them that, look, this thing will not be forever, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. That's how to go about it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, we do need hope in Nigeria, especially for those families who, their children, their husbands have been abducted. There are so many families that are in mourning right now, General, as we're speaking. So, I mean, as much as we want hope, we want to find a way to comfort those Nigerians that are in the dark at this moment. Now, General, 36 military officers face court-martial over an alleged coup plot against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, former Petroleum Minister Timi Silva has been named in court documents with billions allegedly traced to his account and is, now reportedly hiding in Argentina. You were removed as Chief of Defense Staff at the height of this investigation. Then, you were brought back 2 months later, barely 2 months later, as Minister of Defense. Now, were you removed because of the alleged links to the coup plot? And if not, was it simply a mistake given the president needed you back so quickly?
Well, that's a presidential decision. I've spent over 34 years, so at any time at the discretion of Mr. President, I could be relieved. And so I was let go. And 5 weeks later, I'm back to show you that, yes, it wasn't that because I was involved in anything. And far from it, we were the ones that actually identified the coup. We were the one who reported. I was the one who convened the committee that did the investigation. So we did all this together. What we are trying to do now is to show the junior ones that coup doesn't pay anything. Democracy is far, far better than any military regime. And so this is an opportunity. I just looked at the people that were involved in it and I shook my head because they are just a bunch of confused individuals that exposed very junior officers that didn't know their left from their right and that put them into this mess. It's quite unfortunate. We always feel bad when we see our colleagues derailing. But the good thing is that the system has a way of going about it. The investigation was very thorough. The prosecution now is going, and the court martial will go as planned, is ongoing, and we're giving them all the benefits to defend themselves. But the facts on the ground are very, very clear, and I can tell you that we're following all the processes. Nothing is hidden. It's quite unfortunate what they did. They had no reason to do that. The country was going very well. The armed forces have been taken care of quite very well. We've never had issues with our salaries. Efforts have been made to even increase our salaries and our allowances. Our troops are doing quite very well. We're getting more equipment to fight and make sure this. And anybody who is thinking of planning on coup, I think is just wasting his time. Even the civilians in Nigeria will have taken them down. So I think it was just foolhardy for them to have done what they are trying to do or what they wanted to do.
The civilians in Nigeria would have taken them down. All right. Now, as Minister of Defense General, do you have President Tinubu's full confidence? And do you have the mandate to make the hard decisions necessary to fix Nigeria's security crisis, even if it means holding powerful people accountable?
Very well. Of course. To show you, I left as CDS, and 5 weeks later, I was back as Minister of Defense. We've had several discussions, one-on-one discussion with Mr. President, and we have told him about our plans and what we intend doing, and he's following up. We're working together with all the other security agencies. Decisions are going to be taken collectively so that we make sure that we're doing that, we're getting the right results. Wherever there are setbacks, we can look at. You asked about the issue of the sponsors. Sponsors too have been taken out. The names are going to I think they were listed out, and I think the Attorney General too is doing investigation, because it takes, because we're a sovereign nation and it's democracy, so we need to really take out this and find out in details the level of complexity before actions could be taken. But working together, we're happy. Mr. President is equally happy with what we're doing. He wants more results because every time we meet him, he wants these things to end. And we assure him that we're working tirelessly in ensuring that. I want to appeal to Nigeria to continue to stay very strong. Let them not be discouraged. Let them not allow anybody to talk them down. Nigeria is a great country. Nigeria will continue to thrive.
Nigeria will continue to thrive. 3 years into this administration, finally, General Musa, you've had a distinguished military career. You've commanded operations, you've led troops, you've earned medals. But right now, some Nigerians are mourning. They are asking, where are the results? 3 years in, what concrete changes can Nigerians expect in the next 12 months? And if things don't improve, who should be held accountable?
We are working tirelessly. We are getting results. Sometimes the results might be very slow, you might think, but I can tell you on a daily basis, we are rescuing people, we are bringing people out, we are preventing attacks, we're taking out commanders of bandits, of terrorists. We are working together with our neighboring countries to ensure we do. We are talking with our partners to continue to do. It's just a matter of time. I want to appeal to Nigerians. Yes, it looks difficult. It looks really, really difficult, and we understand with that. But what we're saying is that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We must continue to push together, and we're going to succeed. I don't want a situation where we throw blames at each other. This is a Nigerian challenge. Yes. Nobody, like I said, nobody ever thought Nigeria was going to get into this, but we're in it now. It's not the time for us to sit down and be crying or be complaining or grumbling. It's the time for us to work together, support each other, and deal with these enemies of the states.
All right. You've talked about support at length. And you've talked about, measures that have been put in place, like the collaboration with the U.S. government, also with the deployment of drones. Now, I'd like to ask you, to be very frank at this moment. Now, if you were still a soldier on the ground in Borno, Kebbi, Kwara, Benue, Plateau, and other hotspots, and you're not a minister in Abuja, what would you want your commander-in-chief to do differently?
I think for us is to continue to do what he's doing, continue to improve on releasing issues of funds. Nobody gets 100% of what he requires, so we're making do with the little we have. We wish we could have more. Want to partner with other countries to be able to do more. If we have more, we can do better. Like issues of satellite. Satellite is something that the ones we have to cannot give us real-time focus. Now the partners are providing that. We need to have this. We need to be self-sufficient in this military production. We feel that if we're able to continue to do the way we're doing, we're going to get better results. We're all committed into it. I'm happy we have a new Inspector General of Police who is also very proactive. He has had a lot of experience, which he is also bringing out to bear. Because a country without a good police it's difficult for it to thrive. So we need to also refine the police quite very well. And I'm happy what he's doing. I'm happy that the president is also considering it. And then the aspect of state police. State police are very, very important because they will be able to work together with the local government chairman and they will know all the criminals around them. So they will be able to tackle this completely. So it's a holistic thing and it's a whole of society approach.
All right. Before I let you go, I have a question from the presidency. I actually interviewed Daniel Bwala, who talked about how Nigerians can get license to arm themselves. I'd like for you to help us unpack that statement that he made right here on the show. He talked about how Nigerians are able to defend themselves if they were to have, a militia group of some sort.
No, I think he was just talking about community policing, part of community policing. The president has the prerogative to authorize different groups that have been identified, have been profiled, have been authorized to bear arms in support, like we did in the Northeast. We have the civilian JTF. We work together with them. The local governments get them pump action, buy them cartridges. We go for operations together with them. That's what we want to do. Now we have hunters. Officially we have also the hunters group. We have the vigilantes. We can also use those ones because as hunters, they're able to carry den guns and carry these light rifles to go into the forest to do that. People must learn to work together with members of the armed forces. And like I said, you can't sit back and say you are waiting because there is no soldier or there is no policeman, then you won't protect yourself. First preservation of every human being is protection of your life. So whatever you need to do to ensure that you stay alive, please do it. But the important thing is collectively, communities must come together, get your group so that you can have people that can identify if we have criminals coming in. States, local government should be able to identify markets. Because most of the time, movement of arms and ammunition and drugs comes from through markets or illegal car parks. We must identify those car parks. We must take those illegal ones. And those legal ones, we must have the police or the security agencies that will be there to identify. Because those are the things we did in the Northeast that assisted us in ensuring that we address such of these issues. For the central bank, we need them to also be able to follow up when payments are made. They should be able to get the profile. If they see such monies that were paid being transferred into banks, they should be able to track it. POS, We must find ways of addressing that. But I think the overall thing is, again, we must have a database. There are steps we need to take to address security. If we don't do them, they will continue to haunt us. We must have a database as Nigerians. With the database, if you go abroad, you commit an offense, it's very easy for them to arrest you. It's not by magic. It's because I have a database. They get your thumbprint or your face or your signature or something. They can get you as quickly as possible. Yeah. We need to do that. And census is one thing I also want to encourage. We must conduct a comprehensive census of all Nigerians in the world. With technology, we can do that. And once we do that, it makes crime and criminality difficult. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
All right. On that note, General Christopher Musa, I'd like to thank you very much for your contribution on this program. We look forward to, that list of people that are financing terrorism. We look forward to a comprehensive database for Nigerians. And of course, I like your thoughts about census. I'd love to thank you very much for your time and for answering those questions directly.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, Nigeria